Okay, today we're going to do monthly basic training number 1 for the year. This time it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to start with some market-specific programs that we're rolling out. Specific to this month will be the Pick and Ship program, which is something that was introduced last year, and we're kind of taking it to the next level, made some modifications. And with us today is Mark Wheeler, who I was just speaking with. He is the Global Product Director for Systems. And he's going to roll out this new distributor program, which you'll see a newsletter on later in this week. So, Mark, if you're out there.
Yep, coming through okay. If you can go ahead to the next slide.
You sound good.
Okay, thanks everybody for taking some time here this afternoon. So like Derek said, we're going to talk about the Pick and Ship program specifically for distribution. But to start off just on the first slide, because we always have some new people, is Pick and Ship was a program we started a little over a year ago. And the idea was that we have our catalog items, which are really basic models, so to speak. And then we have kind of our high end where everything's custom. So the goal here was to come out with a product line that was kind of an in-between that gave some common sense alternatives, because a lot of customers order the same features again and again and again. Just like you go to a car dealership, nobody really wants the base car. Everybody wants power windows, air conditioning. Or the example we use here is, if you go buy a suit, a lot of times you're going to the store and kind of mixing and matching between shirts and jackets. You don't always go to the tailor shop. So that's really what Pick and Ship is. It's a chance of going in and buying some standard options out there that we can offer to the customer. So again, there's some customers that truly want custom. Great, let them run with that because there's a little more value there. Pick and Ship is meant to be that comparative shopping where they can come through and also look at something and go, boy, it's not everything I want, but it's what I want now. And that's probably been the biggest thing for Pick and Ship, is a lot of customers want to have something right now as fast as they can get it. And that's just the environment and the world we live in. So it's the way to compare those two things for value versus price. Yeah. So if we're not out to replace existing business, okay, so if the customer's coming back with an existing part, a 12-digit item, don't try and replace that with a Pick and Ship item. We want to sell that existing business, that repeat business all the time. Pick and Ship is for new applications, a customer who really needs delivery. You're trying to compete with somebody out there. Again, it's not to replace existing parts. Okay. So the last part too is our pricing is more competitive with Pick and Ship. Everybody knows Chromalox charges a premium for the price, and that's okay. But we also know there's circumstances out there that you need a more competitive price because we're dealing with some bottom feeders, to put it politely, and that's where we want to have this pricing out there to give you the opportunity to go against somebody who is maybe shopping against a catalog house or more of a component supplier. And that's, in as short as possible, what Pick and Ship is all about. Okay, so what we've done with Pick and Ship is we've launched it, I think, last December. And the first year, we basically just rolled it out through internal channels, Chromalox only, inside and outside sales. And like I mentioned, this was a chance for customers to, this was an opportunity for customers that needed it. So as opportunities came in, we were able to quote it. What we want to do for 2020 is open up some more channels, specifically for distribution and reselling. So this is a program we've had online, or we wanted to do for 2020. But we've basically decided to move it up. With the environment we have now, sales are more challenging. Business is getting a little slower, so we want to try and get sales where possible as soon as possible. And we know these are some other avenues. So that's why we're kind of accelerating our 2020 growth on this. And so part of the advantage we have now is that we have a lot better support around the program. Again, when you first launch it, everybody always want to have it 100%, but the reality is some things kind of slip through the cracks and you got to get a little better. Well, now we're in a good position where we have our operations refined, we have kind of our modules ready to go. We're able to deal with quantities. We have a lot more product to sell, where originally we just started out with the flange heater. And then we also have a lot more of a package option to go with it. We'll talk about some of those products too, and then literature and quote tools. So again, it's more of a polished product. We had the item at the end, but now it's ready to go. Okay, so like I talked about, what are we selling? We started out with flange heaters, and then we also expanded that last year to power control assemblies because, again, everybody out there needs a control panel for a heater. If they're buying a heater, there has to be some kind of control system. You may have seen the sales letter about screw plugs that are ready to go. And then we also have a couple accessory kits. In all our manuals, we always talk about liquid level controls and temperature sensors and whatnot. Well, now we have those things kitted together. So it's the sensors and the wiring and like some tank attachments for thermal wells. So again, you don't need to go out there and do individual parts. They're ready to go and do it as a one-off. Like I said, we moved up the distributor program a little bit. So we don't have a few of our products are probably several weeks to a few months behind that program right now, but we can still quote them. So like duct heaters, that's going to be our next product to roll out. So everything's set up in place except for the inventory right now. Inventory is being built. So you can still quote those if needed. The sheets are ready, the prices are loaded. It's just going to be a 30-day lead time. And we'll send out sales letters that once it's done. Circulation heaters, they're basically right behind the duct heaters. They're being built in Laredo. So we've built a couple samples down there. And as you know, we build the flange heaters down there, so we'll have the 4 or 5 vessel bodies to go with it. So when somebody needs a pick and ship circulation heater, we'll basically grab those bodies, put it together with the flange heater, hydro test it, and out the door. So those will be ready to go here probably in about, I think, 2 months at the outside. Will probably be sooner than that. The one thing I did want to highlight is remember, pick and ship, you don't have to sell the power control assemblies and the kits with a pick and chip heater. Just general everyday use, the power control assemblies go up to 75 amps. They're rated 480 volts. And the same thing with the accessory kits. Obviously, you can use them with any kind of immersion application out there. And the reality is, we're probably starting to sell quantity wise a lot more of those few product groups than everything else. Again, because it's nice because it matches with all the products out there. So it's just kind of a quick shout out. If you want a quick way to kind of increase sales and something easy to quote, those are the products to be looking to. Next slide. Okay, so who are we going to sell this to? And this is always, the fun part. But to kind of kickstart or prime the pump and kind of kickstart activity here, basically we went through and said, let's find distributors out there who are good at selling flange heaters, as an example. And let's find the distributors who are doing, tens of thousands of dollars every year. So I was able to come up with a list of about 12 to 15 distributors out there who know that. And the reason we picked that list is because distributors aren't expected to be experts at everything, but there's somebody or there's some customer or some expert at that distributor who knows how to sell those heater products. And that's the reason we wanted to highlight those lists. So specifically for duct heaters, screw plugs, flange panels, we went through and said, let's pull the top 10 distributors slash resellers out there who sell this year in and year out. So again, this is meant to be, it's not a complete list, but it's meant to be that, hey, yeah, these guys are selling it. Let's go out there and talk to them about the pick and ship program, products that they're comfortable with, and hopefully can help increase their sales as well. And then the second list you're going to be seeing is what we've done is taken all those distributors who are buying those products, and then we kind of cross list them. And I know it's probably tough to read on the slide, but you'll start to get the picture in that, you know what, some of these distributors are really good at selling immersion heaters, but they're not selling panels, or they're not selling our panels is probably the answer. So the idea is that when you're in there talking to that distributor about the program and talking to them about immersion heaters, hey, I'm already here. Let's talk about the panel side of the business because that's going to be a great opportunity to increase sales in an existing customer. And like I said, that whole thermal loop, we want to own that and sell it. Or conversely, you have somebody on some of this list here selling duct heaters, but they're not selling immersion. Well, great. Let's talk about our immersion heaters and show you how easy it is to sell and walk through the cut sheet and some of the other things. Okay, so the first two lists on there, those are the ones that Derek will talk more at the end. But through his team, they're going to be loading those on Insightly and kind of giving you guys targets, again, just to get the wheels turning. So 1 and 2, those come out of me, here in Pittsburgh. Number 3, this is your homework assignment too, is there's so many distributors and resellers. Obviously, you are the most knowledgeable person of the ones in your territory. So take some time and think about which ones are the targets in your area that could be eligible for this program. Because again, not every distributor is right for every product, and I know there's 1,000 reasons out there, but nobody's going to know that better than you. So again, that's what the third bullet point is these are your targets. Think about areas where it can fit, and how you can add them to the list to go sell. Okay, couple of things to bring up as far as some talking points for the distributor. When you're sitting there in front of somebody and they're saying, "Well, why should I buy from you?" type thing. Um, One of the biggest reasons for distributors is, again, they always want to sell something quick. They want to turn the items. Great. All the pick and ship products are less than 5 days. So as soon as they order it, a few days later, it's going to be going out the door. The other big advantage to them is they don't have the overhead costs. So now they don't have to worry about carrying it. They don't have to worry about receiving it and shipping it, because again, that's going to be anywhere from 10 to 20% right off their bottom line when they have to hold the product. So now all of a sudden, Chromalox, we're taking on the responsibility. So that's basically free inventory for them to ship out, like stocking, again, in a very short time. The second bullet point there is, because we've been able to standardize on the products and the price, it makes it very easy for them. So rather than trying to memorize all these products, because if you think about it, even as a Chromalox salesperson, you know better than anybody else how many products we have, and distributors are carrying multiple lines on top of that. So there's just no way you can expect them to be experts. But if you give them a sheet and say, look, anytime you have an immersion application, here's a handful of parts. This is all you'll ever need for 90% of the applications out there. It minimizes the expertise and the training they need in-house. So instead of trying to train up one person to be good with it, a particular Chromalox product, now all of a sudden you can train multiple people to handle a product that's relatively simple. So again, because you have a limited number of parts, a quick turn time for them. And again, they don't have that extra shipping cost from a vendor to them and then now to the customer. So that's all numbers right off the bottom line that they're saving, in addition to selling the product. So those are just some highlights, because at the end of the day, everybody, it's all about how much money can we make. So you want to present them with, hey, it's not just selling the product and earning a profit. This is a way you're going to earn extra profit on the side by selling these products every single time. And then the right-hand column, these are just things that I say, we've always invented pick and ship to be kind of a lightweight program. In other words, in the past, Chromalox, we roll out a product or a program, and that's kind of meant to be the program, and it gets set in concrete. Pick and ship, it exists electronically, right? All our brochures and stuff have been electronically. Our pricing has been on the website. And the reason we do that is because as we get feedback from you guys and inside and outside sales, we can make changes on the fly as needed to very easily. So, as you go through this and you start thinking about ways to sell and customers to sell and getting some real world experiences, please let me, Dave, Rob, know your feedback so that we can integrate that. So again, like, we came up with a list of distributors, but if you come back and say, boy, you know what, if we can narrow distributors and resellers by these criteria, we can help do that. In addition to some of the tools we have, again, if you need other tools, literature, whatever, let me know. Those kind of things we can develop and roll out in-house in a pretty quick time frame. And another thing is, as you go out and talk to distributors, if they come back with feedback and say, boy, if I really had X, that would help me sell more. Again, let us know. Those are the kind of things we can add back into the program quickly. Okay, so to talk about what are some of the things you're going to put in front of a distributor when you walk in the door, or whoever that person is, we have two main lit pieces we've developed. The first one is, we're just calling it an overview brochure. It's a little smaller, not as much text, a lot of nice pictures and colors, which always looks good, putting in front of a customer. And it basically lays out the value proposition, all the things I just talked about for the program and why a distributor would want to use it. And that's kind of like, again, the intro, the first couple pages of the brochure. And then what you're going to find in the middle is that nice picture you see on the right here about a typical heater installation. Because again, a lot of people call us for a heater. And at the end of the day, that's great. We want to sell a heater, but everybody needs to buy that control for that heater. So that's why we have the power control assemblies to go with it. And that's why we have the sensors to go with it, both liquid level and temperature. So we want to kind of, subconsciously create that seed or that expectations with distributors as well as customers that, hey, if you really want to do the installation right, these are all the products you need to buy. And rather than trying to go source it from 3 or 4 different people, you source it all from us, not only just from a product standpoint, but we understand, which panel is going to work best with which heater and which sensor is going to work best with that panel. Same thing with the liquid level, so it has the right contacts and the open points. And so it makes their job easier and it makes us happier because we're selling more products that it fits, and it makes the customer happier because then they don't get a product and go, oh, wait a minute, I need to buy all this stuff too. Well, where do I find it and how do I deal with it? We have it all in one-stop shopping. Good. The next one. Perfect. And then the second brochure we have, it's more of a detailed brochure and it's 15, 20 pages and kind of growing. But this is meant to be more of a working piece so that as a salesperson or again as a distributor, you kind of open the brochure and say, okay, well, I saw the nice picture, but now all of a sudden, if you look at the picture on the right, what do I really need to do to quote this? And that's what we're calling a scope of supply. So in the left-hand column, we're breaking down that, hey, scope of supply is heater panel and the sensors that go with it. Um, what does the user need to supply, whether that's the distributor or the end item? Well, it's basically wiring and conduit, something they can source locally. It's a commodity item. But again, we want to set that expectation that when I quote that heater application, these are the 3 or 4 main things I do every time. Now, if you look back on the left-hand side again, as far as the training, that's what we have. How do you pick the product? So on the left-hand side, you have 3 or 4 steps about figure out the kilowatts, what density, and here's your part. Next question is, well, do I have a cut sheet? Do I have a drawing? Guess what? That's the second page of the product. So for everything, screw plug, duct heaters, etc., that's what the page 2 is. It's a data sheet, lays out all that information they'll need to know, and gives it to the customer. And then at the end too, we have all the accessories that go in there. So again, this is meant to be somebody can open up and pretty simply go through it and quote the product out there for the customer. Okay, so a lot of these, again, this is a little bit of a repeat just from the pick and ship program as a whole. Um, and again, kind of benefits and features. Why do we want to do it? And why is it a benefit more for a distributor? So, back in the day, I was trying to sell Chromalock salesman on the idea. Now it's your job to help sell those ideas to distributors. But it's the same things that apply if you think about it, right? It literally takes minutes to quote these products. We have great pricing out there, so you don't have to worry about a lot of back and forth. You have a customer with immediate need, right? We're going to be right in that same ballpark. Delivery, I just can't emphasize delivery enough because all the quotation, or excuse me, surveys we got back, comments, everybody said one of the biggest reasons people are buying are delivery. So if we're able to match that delivery, great, no problem. And then the last one, again, I'll just hit again is, at the end of the day, we really want to increase our sales on the panels because if you don't think about it, or if you think about it, we're selling less than 10 to 15% of panels with our heaters out there. So that's another 70, 80% of opportunity that we could be doing this stuff. So that's why I just highlighted here that again, not just pick and chip heaters, but any heater product up to 75 amps. That's why we have this out there and available. Okay, so the last one, since we're just coming out of Easter too, like I said, we're trying to accelerate this, is we do have another quote tool just about ready to go out. So this is an Excel-based one, so it's easy. Um, we can ship it around to whoever needs to use it. But all it's doing is it's taking kind of the print copy of what you just seen in the brochure and just putting in an electronic format. So if you look at the picture on the right, again, we have that scope of supply with the numbers called out, or the bullet points, I should say, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So as a customer says, well, I need this heater, it's just a drop-down menu. You automatically plug in that part and it drops in some of the, key specs. And then when you're done doing the same thing for the heater, the panel, and the accessories, click the button at the bottom and it'll generate a little quote template. So it's pretty cool in that it'll give you the cover page. The second page will be the price and delivery. And then the following pages are all the cut sheets. So again, trying to make this as easy as possible, something that, you don't even have to worry about printing out or giving them brochure. It'll just, create it in a PDF and you can send it right to the customer out there. So as far as the literature and whatnot, that's ready to go. We have a sales letter that'll be going out in the next day or two here with the literature to put it in your hands. The quote template you're looking at now, we're just finishing up some of the bugs, so to speak, but we have all the cut sheets and the products, and we're just trying to make sure it's as easy as possible so you don't have to manipulate it too much. More of like drop down menus and clicking on buttons rather than typing and stuff. But that'll be ready here probably by no later than the end of the month, and we'll circulate that around to the team as well. So again, that was kind of a quick overview. Like I said, we're trying to move up this program in general to get more sales and get it out there in the hands faster of people. Like I mentioned, we did want to do a little bit of a pilot program, but at the end of the day, you know what? Thinking about it, we have a very experienced sales force at this time, and you guys obviously know most, if not all, the customers in your area. So it's not like we really need a lot of training wheels on this. I think it's pretty straightforward as far as the products and the advantages and what we're offering out there. There's no reason we can't go hit some of these guys up sooner versus later. So that's the presentation as a whole. I didn't want to make it too long. At the end, we're going to turn it over to Derek here. Like I said, there's some homework assignments, and he's going to walk you through that a little bit. Like I said, there's some homework assignments, and he's going to walk you through that a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. It's a good deal. I did want to mention to everyone that there'll be a follow-up presentation next week to talk about success stories, some techniques, and things that follow along with the pick and ship to hopefully help you along your way and on your, in this unique sales environment with the whole COVID thing and stuff. But a couple other things specific to what Mark mentioned too. Some of the feedback we got as Chromalox and as a whole, not only delivery and product and things, was good focused leads. Mark mentioned or showed the spreadsheet to kind of a starter list, if you will, of who we're going to focus on. And I encourage you to work with your RTSMs if you have some ideas or whatever. Obviously, their support is always available to you. At the same time, those are also going to be followed through our new lead procedure. If you guys were on the call last week or the training we had last week, that is still available if you want familiar with what we're doing with vetting leads and giving you better targets and focuses. You're more than welcome to watch that. That's out there. That was loaded earlier on last week. But I also wanted to mention this. So if we're going to go to distributors, we're going to, this is another reason to contact them. This is another value to offer to them, encourage them to sell Chromalox and in the end grow your own territory. Something we did last fall that I'd like to bring to everyone's attention and obviously make available to everyone, which it is at this link, is the whole distributor setup of the account through our website. It's not our extranet. And this allows them to set up their account, view their shipments, do their MRAs. And it's also another reason to develop that relationship with your distributors. Not only to, obviously you're coming in to introduce them to this pick and ship program, but there's so many other things that can grow that relationship and you can offer. And these presentations are available to share or give to your customers and your distributors as well. And this was just a good opportunity to highlight that to everyone. We are going to open it up for questions here in a moment.